You can walk anywhere in this world, and niggas will be like, where you from, New York?
Yeah.
Anywhere. They not saying, where you from, Cali? Where you from, New Mexico? Are you from Detroit? No, nigga.
And so,
where you from, nigga, New York?
Let me show you how arrogant New Yorkers is. We don't even think we got an accent. They're like, you got an accent. I'm like, no, motherfucker.
You got an accent.
Alcohol, right?
You know, through the NBA history books, there's always a few things that you can judge a team on that never changes no matter what the era is. And that is their ability to get stops against high-level teams going into the playoffs, especially in scenarios like this. The game's winding down. Knicks are only up by 1. You got to get a stop right here. And Mikal definitely does his thing, holding his own against Ja, as he's been doing it all game long. But this scenario right here is what we've been kind of asking ourselves all season long. Can this team hold its own on the defensive end and get key stops? The offense is definitely rolling at times, but the team is finding themselves having to execute in these scenarios, especially in the second half of the season, where teams really begin to establish themselves of where they're exactly at in the pecking order. The communication hasn't always been crisp this season. But right here on this play, as you can see, the Knicks are trying to get stops here. Trying to get a stop so they can go ahead and try to tie this up or take the lead. But right here on this switch against the top teams in the league, the Knicks are going to have to make this switch at some point. They cannot leave teams like Boston with open shooters, or another team, for example, like the Oklahoma City Thunder. Can't leave guys open like this. They're going to at some point have to make the switch. But you know what? I'm going to just stay on the Boston Celtics. They have a lot of serviceable guys. They're going to have Jrue Holiday, White, KP, Al Horford, Tatum, or Brown. All these guys can shoot. So this has been a scenario that's been plaguing the team all year long against the top contenders. How crisp is the communication on these switches? Do they know when to switch? Knowing when to double? How seamless can this really be in real time? Here it is again against the Bulls. Mikal gets caught. Completely caught. Remember, it's a tie game. They're trying to close this out. 12 seconds left. And we're going to watch the chemistry between Mikal, Precious, and Shamet. This is what has to be in unison right here. Mikal chases over the top. Even though he got caught on the screen, he does not switch. He chases over the top. Valanciunas rolls. And Lonzo Ball pops out. Look at that. Wide open. And he tries to stunt on the Garden right here. Even though this is a miss. But this right here is what is going to have to be in unison going up against teams, especially like the Celtics in the playoffs. These things are going to be very, very key. Because the shooter that's going to be left open, it's not going to be Lonzo Ball. It possibly could be Derek White, Jrue Holiday, or Kristaps Porzingis. Major difference. And one of the main questions with this year's team is, can they win different styles of games? Sometimes they might not be scoring as much, or normally certain guys who normally get it going, can they find a different way to affect the game? And for those of you that are more privy to the Knicks teams of the past, especially the beloved 90s Knicks, they were able to pull out victories when things weren't really going their way offensively. Here's a prime example of it right here. The Knicks are down 1-0 in this series. This is game 2. Hakeem is the reigning defensive player of the year and MVP. So the Knicks are only up 1. It's under 2 minutes left. And they're going to get some stops here. This is why Patrick Ewing is a legend. You got to get stops. Even though this is a different era, there's different defensive rules. For example, zone defense in a way was sort of illegal, depending on your positioning. But even through all that, the scenarios don't change. High-level teams have to get stops. Knicks once again trying to close out the game, needing a stop. Look at Ewing. Gets the steal. Comes up big once again. And it just wasn't Ewing. The whole team was bought in. Starks with the strip. And Knicks fans know what it looked like. There's an extra bop to it. When your team plays great defense, you got an extra pep to your step, an extra swagger. And this year's team was missing a lot of that, but low-key is starting to come alive, as you can see with the return of OG into the lineup, as well as Mitch. There's an extra bop. You put Deuce McBride in that whole situation, you got a whole different equation, man. Like, this team has an extra pep to their step, and we've seen it play out in Miami as well as the game in Memphis. But at the end of the day, it really started in the game going up against the Celtics. The defense had more communication. Guys were switching. They were not switching. Tibbs wasn't afraid of leaving guys one-on-one against certain players. With the Celtics, finally a fucking adjustment being made. No more switches, because that's what the Celtics were hunting in all the matchups that we had with them throughout the season. Knicks right here showing great defense, trying to close out this game. Josh Hart staying on Duncan. OG just all over Tyler Hero. And the combination between Josh Hart, I mean, just look at this lineup. Josh Hart, McBride, you got OG, and you got fucking Mitchell Robinson. Sheesh. That is a monster in itself right there. I'm telling you, the Knicks getting blown out by the Celtics and the Cavs has switched this team up. Mikal with the great defense, sticking on Ja. Check out the rotations. Ooh, Brunson. Nice rotation right there. And of course, Ja Morant, we're going to leave him open to take that. But something about the defense has changed. I've alluded to this in my previous video with the Boston Celtics in their last matchup. As you can see, even though it was kind of a blowout, there was a lot of changes that were being made by Tibbs, just letting guys play man-to-man. He kind of trusts defenders to kind of go 1v1 a lot more, because the Celtics, they do look and hunt for guys that are switching and to get certain 2v1s or 3v2 scenarios and exploit that.